Copenhagen Wolves, because that's a champion you don't want to see being fed early game, and a champion who can set up ganks so easily in this top lane here. So very normal ban, I guess, for Copenhagen Wolves, also against Wickd. Cassiopeia has just been that flex pick for a lot of teams.
Yeah, I think that Element's not too worried about anything outside of that mid lane because Froggen just wants to have a nice safe laning phase and get up to a level where he feels he can just start blowing people up. Yeah,
we've seen this before from Elements, banning a lot of the mid lane assassins, and Soren normally is not a guy who would pick Zed. I mean, he's always been very, very focused on safe laners, you know, late game team fights, not exactly split pushing from a Zed here, but yet banned away by Elements, taking out these mid laners again.
A lot of focus on that mid lane. Copenhagen Wolves banned Kassadin as well. And then there's the Gnar ban. Now, YoungBuck has gotten a hold of Gnar in both of their games so far, so we'll have to mix things up a little bit. Of course, he didn't look particularly impressive on it either, so maybe that's a welcome change for the Wolves.
Yeah, I'm not even sure Gnar was the problem, though. I mean, Gnar normally is fairly good at dancing around, but we're going to see what he wants to play. Quite a lot of top lane bans. I mean, if you consider Cassiopeia as a top laner, which he also could be, and then now, of course, Aurelia. By the way, Lissandra would be open for Wickd if they want to now go towards the top side, seeing as they're banning so many of them away from the Copenhagen Wolves. And wow, Rek'Sai again left open.
Makes it through. That is going to be a no-brainer pickup right there for Elements, and it will be Shook rocking that one, and that leaves the Copenhagen Wolves to ponder what their picks will be.
2-0 for the day. We had Kikis, who carried the game, or was one of the main carries, and then we had Svensson in the last game, who was more assisting his team and had like 100% kill participation throughout the entire game. So Rek'Sai so far has had a massive impact on the games here in Europe, and yet open once again. Instead, you ban away the
I'm so surprised they banned the LeBlanc. This is not exactly Froggen's top choice.
So I can accept Rek'Sai being left open if you counter it with two very, very strong picks yourself. Now it's been banned away though by Elements, would have been the go-to choice for YoungBuck. They're going to have to lock in two power picks to deny them from Elements. Lissandra will be the go-to one with all these top lane bans we talked about beforehand, so I like that for potentially YoungBuck in the top lane or Soren in the mid lane. And then you need to follow up here, add in some more engage, and you can actually have a very aggressive comp like Fnatic played against Elements. Yeah,
and of course Janna being let through as well should be a pretty simple pickup there for the disengage as well for the Copenhagen Wolves, so that one does get locked in.
Very true. Does go a little bit away from looking towards a very aggressive comp. It's not going to be the case now for Copenhagen Wolves with the Janna being locked in more again, obviously to defend Freeze and the backline in these team fights here. I was actually expecting a lot of all-in from the Wolves and just trying again get Elements out of the comfort zone. Don't allow them to sit and be passive and farm up to late game. Instead, force them into team fights and try and win early on.
Yeah, and in their first two games, the Wolves had quite long sets. 49 minutes in one of them, 37 in another. They do seem to be okay with drawing things out, but that's such a dangerous thing to do against a team like Elements who loves to be passive until that late game and then turn it into overdrive.
Yeah, and you have Froggen and Rekkles as your two late game carries.
Speaking of Rekkles, guess what? He gets to rock the Graves for a third time now. We'll lock that one in, and Nyph will take Leona.
Again, Nyph switching it up here in terms of support. He's playing, we saw Blitzcrank.
Janna as well.
Janna, of course, and then Blitzcrank against Unicorns of Love. He actually working pretty well for him, but taking a very aggressive lane from Elements. A lot of all-in potential at level 6. And also when you have, again, the Rek'Sai with his global ulti, you can start the fight as Leona, and then you know Rek'Sai can join in time, just ulti down towards whatever lane you're fighting, and join in, and suddenly it's a 3v2 in favor of you.
Yeah, now for Copenhagen, really doesn't make any sense to pick anything but Jarvan. I mean, there are other junglers on the board, but it's the top tier pick. It's the one that will work in a lot of these situations. And they don't have to pick it now, though, because of the Rek'Sai also taken.
Yeah, that's true. Again, you have your Janna, so you have secured some disengage, but Leona being locked in again for Nyph here, if you manage to engage onto the likes of Lissandra or Jarvan here, so they are, sorry, Lissandra and Janna here, they won't be able to do much in these fights here other than just defensive ulti and then back away here, wait for the disengage. Might be the goal for Elements. Just trying to pop one of those important ultis from Copenhagen Wolves and then wait them out and then go in again whenever they can. But would require a bit more engaged than just Leona if they want to keep doing that tactic.
Yeah, Free's going for a safer pick right now. This is the first time he's picked something we'd really call conventional. Draven and Kalista already in his books, but now he picks up the Corki. Elements on their last rotation. They still need a mid laner and a top laner.
Some very safe picks from the Copenhagen Wolves. Quite a lot of wave clear as well coming in between the Corki and Lissandra. Obviously a bit short range on Lissandra, but should work out for the Wolves in case they do fall behind. Again, you have Janna as well sitting, protecting freeze in these fights. So very standard comp actually. You have some wave clear, you have a fairly good mid game through the Corki, you have a lot of engage coming from Lissandra and Jarvan, and obviously the protection of a Janna. So very standard comp from the Wolves. No surprises here.
See the coach in the background talking Elements, figuring what they'll go for. And it looks like it's going to be the Ahri pickup as well as a Lulu. So flex pick there, but I wouldn't be too surprised to see Ahri in the mid lane.
It's going to be Ahri in the mid lane, pretty much guaranteed. And obviously Wickd going to pick up the Lulu. Not a champion we see him play too often.
On the top lane.
In the top lane, but that's more element style here. Suddenly now you have Lulu for some disengage, and to add in for like Rek'Sai when you want to go in for the engager, you have the wild growth now to help out Rek'Sai in these engages. So a lot of options against for elements actually here. You can engage, you can go for picks between the Rek'Sai, the Leona and the Ahri, and of course a fairly strong 5 versus 5 team fight all around like we see so often.
Yeah, and this is more, on the side of Copenhagen, this is more Soren's MO here with the Xerath. If he does choose to lock that one in, he did play it once already this split. They're really thinking about it down to the wire. Again, coach whispering in their ears, that's Dentist right behind the team.
Yeah, so Copenhagen was really aiming for a siege comp here. Long range poke, loads of siege in the mid game between the Corki and the Xerath, and obviously Janna as the early lock-in allows them to have some disengage, but there's quite a lot of options for elements here to start a fight between the Rek'Sai and the Leona going in. Obviously Froggen trying to land a charm. If Unlimited can manage to disengage the first thing, suddenly the Corki and Xerath can just kite backwards here and land the poke onto elements here.
And they have the sustain of the Lulu as well, so rather than trying to take an additional carry and double down on that, they're trusting that Froggen and Rekkles can get the damage. They have Shook also in there, and basically with Lulu you get that extra artificial tankiness to save any particular target that might be blown up, or in this case, sniped away.
There's a lot of damage for elements. I mean, even Lulu, AP Lulu actually does quite some good damage in like mid-game.
It was cut down several patches ago, but still, it's very powerful in the right hands.
Elements is basically just running a comp here, which is built around getting an engage onto either Soren or Freeze. In these team fights here, pop them instantly, and suddenly you can now chase down. We have Lulu constantly bringing some utility. You have the Rek'Sai, we know her extra movement speed, the knock-ups you can keep doing as well. So like a lot of chase potential coming in from elements, but I do feel a little bit if they don't manage to get that engage up front against the Janna, suddenly Xerath and Corki can just sit back and poke and poke and poke for days.
Yeah, and they can stall the game out really importantly too. If Elements does start to get further ahead, even if the power spikes might be missed, they're able to keep this game going for quite a long time now. With the picks and bans locked in, the analysis is on you guys. Go ahead and tweet us at LOL Esports using the hashtag ELWin or CWWin, and we'll see who you think is going to come out on top in this game.
And we're going to have to see what Shook can do on Rek'Sai. 2-0 so far today, and 0 in Europe in total.
It hasn't been banned much, but here it is again. On the board, Elements versus the Copenhagen Wolves out of the gates. And they're heading up the top side of the map as they look to secure their second win in this LCS Spring Split.
Yeah, just rushing away here. We might want to see them get some deep wards in the top side of the jungle from Copenhagen Wolves. Maybe they want to try and surprise them, because we have seen quite a few teams on the red side go up to this top side and walk down the river into the blue buff, and now Elements is sitting ready in case YoungBuck walks in.
He says no thank you.
Yeah.
He saw them right before they saw him. Puts down the ward on the outside, but now they actually had enough to clear that one away, so we'll be able to take down YoungBuck's trinket ward.
Yeah, remember again here on 5.1, you do have a little bit extra time to clear those wards before they go stealth. And Airwaks, because they see 5 guys from Elements walking into the red buff of Copenhagen Wolves, sees an opportunity to get his ward down between Grump and blue buff.
Goes on that scouting mission while the rest of Elements is hanging out on his side of the jungle. Airwaks is going to have to be careful, though, not to get caught out on the return, because everyone is moving. Actually, this is a dangerous position. If he stays hidden,
Rekkles,
they can't sense the movement.
It's only a Jarvan, and won't really be able to do too much. You have flag as well. Throw it in the face and then look at them walk away. So.
I was more worried there for Airwaks, but he's going to be able to get away as they wander back down. Unlimited and Freeze are going to be hanging out in their bottom side of the jungle, or rather the other bottom side of the jungle. A lot of wards in that side as well, so really a lot of vision here, but it looks like for all of that, we're going to see only a simple lane swap. Rekkles making his way up to the top side, while Nyph is helping out with jungle duty.
Yeah, so the standard D boards from Elements to try and spot what Copenhagen was sitting their dual lane, and obviously just gonna go to the top side. Rekkles here is gonna build up the wave to go in, group up all these lovely minions and make them focus the very first minion from his wave coming in. And Wickd instantly down this bottom lane on Lulu. Should actually be able to do fairly fine in a 1v2.
Why are the Krugs hanging out over by the red buff? That's confusing.
Yeah, what's the small Krug doing?
I think he was lonely. That's okay.
So Freeze actually stealing the red buff at level 1. Meanwhile, we saw Airwaks get his own red buff because Elements only put the deep boards actually moved away from the jungle. Wanted Shook to start his own blue buff here, so they're gonna get triple buffed at level 1. One for Freeze and one for Airwaks, and ooh, Wickd might be forced to flash here with the red buff.
Yeah, he's getting caught just a little bit out of position, quite a lot of damage, but not as enough to take him down. And Freeze, it's a tower shot on the way out, but they should be able to freeze Wickd out of getting too much of this farm.
No Howling Gale from Unlimited had to start shield for them to take this red buff here. Make sure Freeze stayed fairly healthy, and it is actually pushing in favor of the Copenhagen Wolves, so they can set up a Freeze here, trying to deny Wickd a little bit, who managed to get his level 2, but that is about it for him for now.
Airwaks going to be able to clean out his blue camp as well. Finds Scuttler as well. Actually, he's headed towards this bottom side. Let's see if he can find Wickd.
So if Elements get to see that Airwaks actually, as soon as he goes for this gank, they know he's on the bottom side, they should aim for a dive on the top lane themselves here. Punish this Lissandra pick and obviously use the Leona to lock him down, and Rek'Sai from Shook is moving there already, but Unlimited ready to counter it. He's running from base. Can he get there in time? He should be able to, knowing that Elements wants to dive onto YoungBuck.
Yeah, YoungBuck has been having a little bit of a rough time. He hit level 2, but has been held to just 2 minions so far to start this one off. And here we go.
Himself.
Yep, Unlimited. Actually, they sense it. Shook is going to move over. They're going to go for the double dive, and they jump onto Unlimited, actually. Very squishy on this Janna, forcing to flash away, but Nyph is taking all the tower hits, and he actually has to turn around. YoungBuck nearly secures first blood, but now they turn it back around, and Rekkles, does he have the damage to take him down? The Janna shield is going to keep YoungBuck alive. Rekkles goes in for round 2, and he's going to take the first blood, but it's not over yet. Soren made the long roam, and Nyph just might go down. He does. That's a 1-for-1, and they're looking for even more here. Shook gets the knock-up, but he's not going to live very long here. Unlimited helping out, and Airwaks comes up. That is going to be a 2-for-1 trade in favor of the Copenhagen Wolves.
And the Copenhagen Wolves here, knowing as soon as Airwaks shows himself in the bottom lane, Elements will dive with Leona in the top lane. So the recall from Unlimited running to the tower here, helping out YoungBuck 2v3, defending it, and Elements just staying around, keep trying to dive onto the rest of Copenhagen's move up there. And Soren taking quite some damage from Froggen here. Charm in his face.
He does return a little bit of that, but now Airwaks is going to take advantage of Froggen's positioning. He's not yet hit 6, does not have Spirit Rush available to dash his way to danger. Flash is used, and Unlimited just seems like he's all over the map here, providing opportunities for Copenhagen to start pushing down this mid turret.
Yeah, it was roaming from the top lane. Didn't actually manage to join in. Right here it was all about Airwaks forcing the flash, but it has meant that Wickd is in a one-on-one between him and Freeze. And Freeze going aggressive.
Starting to look a little bit rough for Wickd here. Freeze coming up with more damage. Wickd at level down. Auto attack will do it. He gets it with the phosphorus bomb, and he gets out alive.
The Copenhagen Wolves really make some plays here early on against Elements. Not even sure how Wickd could actually die there one-on-one. He should be able to predict the damage coming from Freeze and not getting a situation where he's caught out.
And this is exactly what you have to do against a team like Elements that likes to play it out passive. Sure, they went for the lane swap and they were looking to dive on YoungBuck, but still, even that, they kind of hesitated for just a moment. They got punished for it. Copenhagen, this is exactly how they need to start this game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, really nice play here, reading Elements and how they wanted to play the lane swap and try and counter it with Unlimited going to the top lane and helping out YoungBuck. You also saw how he stayed behind the tower. He didn't show himself. He was waiting for Elements to start the dive. Then he moved in. Managed to survive the first knock-up coming from Shook. And then, of course, the rest is history, and the Copenhagen Wolves 3-1.
Shook's just going to be able to get a pink ward cleared for his trouble. Nyph's going to want to be the one picking up the gold on that. But Unlimited hanging out with YoungBuck in this top side, so Rekkles isn't going to be able to bully him as much as he would have before. Got to be careful on both sides as they take a little bit of a trade. Shook roaming around, but mostly just interested in clearing his jungle here. Still sitting on the Rangers Trailblazer.
Yeah, and only 13 CS because he was part of the dive here, where Soren has been able to farm a little bit more and counter gank at the same time. We'll have to see, because Nyph, well, this Leona, he's been roaming quite a bit in the early game. Now he's just sitting here helping Rekkles, making sure it's a 2v2 between him and YoungBuck, but YoungBuck should be able to farm fairly safe as long as we're gonna get a Howling Gale from Unlimited to stop Nyph from engaging.
Yeah, there's always that threat of the Leona lockup followed up by the Graves burst, but yeah, that's what Unlimited's here for, trying to push him off. So still a tense moment in this top lane. They don't know where the junglers are. There's Shook could make a move at any time, but he's still trying to clear things out. As you mentioned, he was a little bit further behind on Airwaks, who's got the luxury of being able to stroll around his own jungle without as much worry of falling behind.
Yeah, so Wickd will get ahead in levels here compared to YoungBuck because he's in this one-on-one, and despite dying beforehand, he's been able to pick up at least all the XP from the minions and quite a lot of farm on Lulu as well. So he should be fairly happy. And Froggen
he's going to get the jump in, and he does be able to get quite a lot of damage going in with the Spirit Rush. Oh, he needs another attack, and he's not going to get it. And the turret takes down Froggen. Soren coming up with a kill.
Wow, Soren here landing that very, very important stun to Froggen. Up in his top lane here though, Nyph still in a position, he's going in.
Yep, YoungBuck now locked up. There's a lot of burst there in the collateral damage, and that's just not quite enough, but maybe no!
Second time.
He can't get it even with the Ignite, so 2 close calls and Elements gets nothing.
Again, Copenhagen was just staying alive. His teleport is ready for YoungBuck, so he can actually get back to this top lane and get all the farm. Won't lose anything. Soren, oh sorry, Airwaks as well on this top side.
They're still thinking about this dive. The tower's pretty low here. Rekkles does not have his cooldowns quite yet on that ultimate. Airwaks, though, is hanging around the backside to make this a 3v3 if need be. But I think they're going to back away from this one. Elements, they've been burned a couple of times now.
Yeah, they can't be too happy. I mean, we're talking like 1 tick of damage more, and they would have the kills. But
with Froggen making the same play on Soren.
Froggen was actually controlling the mid lane. He constantly just pushing Soren up to his own tower, and he was just waiting for that level 6 moment to try and jump in and kill him. And in the end, just Soren with the very, very crucial stun. And missed that one. He can't hit all of them.
No, that's true, but he got the one that mattered. Froggen gonna have some nice juicy waves to clear once after he gets that blue buff secured. But Soren playing with a little bit more confidence here, even though he's quite down in CS, as you mentioned. He's still 2-0 and up on the kill score, and that's going to compensate for that quite a bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. He can be very happy with his 2 kills. Airwaks here, hoping Froggen moves forward. He was trying to play the wave. There's no flash, but he does have ulti ready here.
Yep, they're going to walk out, show themselves. Froggen is going to get the charm off. That's a lot of burst onto Airwaks, and he forces the flash. So that's a win for Froggen, as his flown flash is not quite up just
yet. Very nice play here by Froggen. Throwing the charm just behind him where he knew Airwaks was going to his flag, and he gets quite a lot of damage. I'm pretty sure Airwaks had to flash away for it, but playing it very, very safe for him.
Yeah, Airwaks really doing the best. Oh, wait a minute, he stayed too long. But there's the Howling Gale disengaged. That's why they took the Janna. Airwaks living dangerously in the Elements jungle.
Walking in there after Froggen had used his ulti. Didn't really respect the second charm coming.
So far, Copenhagen has been well controlling their lanes, but they are falling behind in gold quite a bit just because of not getting enough farm.
Yeah, the farm difference between Shook and Airwaks, and of course Froggen and Soren in this mid lane, is making the difference, and the 1 tower picked up by Elements in the top lane beforehand, with the Graves and Leona staying around.
Freeze is going to be able to back here, should be able to pick up a decent bit of pieces of his Trinity Force. And right now, he's actually a decent bit down on Rekkles, about 400 gold differential. So, I mean, Rekkles is just going to play quite well in most of these matchups, but he hasn't even had to face down a Corki that might outrange him a little bit, so
oh, this is not good for YoungBuck.
Oh.
Elements is sneaking in behind him.
Yep, and they're going to get the jump on. Claw, not successful. And a 1-2-3, Rekkles coming up with his second kill. A little bit of help from his friends.
Yeah, Elements still controlling the top side of the map here. Had a D-board placed, and as soon as they saw YoungBuck move from the Raptor, walked around and picked up a kill. But there's a lot of wave clear on the side of Copenhagen Wolves between the Xerath, obviously Corki sitting in the mid lane, or bottom lane. It's going to be hard for Elements just to push down the towers unless they keep creating these picks here, get a numbers advantage, and then you can start going for the towers.
There's been quite a lot of roam for both teams so far, and the action's just been across the board. We expected a little bit more of a quiet opener, but they really have made this one a bit more of a show now. Airwaks hanging out with Unlimited in that brush as Wickd tries desperately to defend his tower, but this could be the Wolves setting up for a dive. Nyph is going to be here. There's the Rek'Sai ultimate, but that's not going to save Wickd. He's actually just backing away and giving that tower over to the Wolves.
Yeah, Sugar went to the top side. I don't think he expected any kinds of action, in the bottom lane. Just back to fine, but the Copenhagen Wolves here, I mean, they didn't see him, so they're probably predicting him to be around the top side and going straight for Dragon. After also with Wickd, who was low on mana, low on HP, they saw him recall. It's a very, very easy Dragon pickup by Copenhagen Wolves after getting a tower as well.
And this is such a much more progressive and proactive game from the Wolves. They're learning to take little bits here and there, what they can. They're a team not typically known for their strong early game, but they're showing a different side of themselves right now.
Yeah, the lane swap, even though YoungBuck died a few times, has been able to pick up a lot of farm. So not being in this one-on-one lane and camped by the enemy jungler seems to have benefited him just a little bit. And obviously Copenhagen Wolves with some good plays in the early game, still behind in goal compared to Elements.
But they do have that first Dragon, so a little bit of extra stats, so the gold not always telling the entire story. 1-1 is the tower score right now. And the teams have kind of taken a break from laning to see if they can grab something else around the map, congregating now in this mid side.
Yeah, I do want to see if the Copenhagen Wolves will use the Trinity Force and Athene's completed on Soren, and obviously Trinity Force on Freeze here to group up fairly early and start poking alliance or elements and sieging down a tower. Or if they're too afraid of the blow-up potential through obviously Graves and Ahri together, we're going to have so much burst damage here in the mid game when you have no defensive stats against them. And obviously the engage coming in from Nyph. So we're going to have to see if they actually want to use it or not. But now they've been defending this mid lane. Wickd is in there now, pushing it down.
Rekkles really wants to get a pick on YoungBuck here. He's actually going to get some damage, but there is the glacial path that he takes to safety, and Rekkles will not be picking up that kill just yet.
No, Elements have basically kept wards in the jungle, or topside jungle of Copenhagen Wolves the entire game long. So Elements and Rekkles here can play fairly aggressive, knowing nobody's nearby.
Well,
Copenhagen
about
Wolves
to change, chilling smite down on Rekkles, and he gets the jump off, forcing the flash away. But Wickd, Shook, and Nyph are behind in the brush. Meanwhile, Soren and Free is going to take the opportunity to punish the not checked mid tower here. This is a little odd.
Well, still though, Elements just moving from the top side down here to stop them. And Freeze couldn't really do too much. I had to just back away from this tower. And meanwhile, Froggen will be able to get a tower in the bottom lane here. So Elements getting a tower for free.
It's quite a lot of a ways to go, though. He doesn't quite have the wave built up, but he does have some serious damage. And there's no one really
maybe a little bit too early on the tower.
Maybe we're getting a little overzealous about these towers here, Deficio, but still, they're just trying to out-rotate each other and take one or two more hits on it and get those knocked down quickly and sneak it out. But now Elements is actually massing up in this bottom side jungle and waiting for someone to check in here. Froggen setting a trap, trying to look tasty. Let's see if the Wolves take the bait.
It was pinged by Copenhagen Wolves that you should move down to the tower here. That was like ping in the bush right on Elements when they were setting up the trap. And again, they've seen them move from the mid lane down to the bottom lane and haven't seen them since. So you should always expect them to be waiting around, trying to pick you off if you walk down to this tower here.
And the Wolves not having any of that. They do lose a tower, and they're still down in the gold game, but again, they've got that dragon. They're still roving together quite well. A pack of wolves, you might say. And with the rest of Elements still looking for picks, still looking for something to set up, it's starting to settle itself into this bit of a quiet mid-game.
Yeah, we're waiting for Freeze to finish his Trinity Force, and obviously also upgrade his boots here before we're really going to see him start grouping with Soren to start pushing down, or sieging down these turrets. Meanwhile, though, the Copenhagen Wolves is pushing out the lanes, buying a bit of time for Freeze again to farm up, and Shook, he wants that Grump.
Yeah, he
second
does.
time.
Bad enough to Void Rush for it now.
YoungBuck
teleporting down to the bottom side, looking to see if he can get a pick on Froggen. There's no tower. Flashes away from the charm, and with Freeze's help, they just might have the damage. Spirit Rush. YoungBuck going down. Froggen with the outplay in the 1v2. Freeze will pick him up, but he's got to be happy he got something for it.
Yeah, teleport down from YoungBuck here, and Froggen just dancing around. Let's see, Soren might be in trouble.
Yep, right now Nyph gonna try to get the jump on a flash, was burned. There is the Solar Flare, Unlimited now, might be the target focus, but they will push them back. Right of the Arcane, Wickd taking a bit of damage. Nyph now being targeted. This shouldn't be enough to pick them down, but Shook, they're trading. Airwaks is gonna look for him, has him locked up in the pit, but he's got a way out. Not enough damage with the wild growth. Wickd keeps him alive.
Yeah, shields and everything. The tunnel as well from Shook to get out of the Cataclysm here from Airwaks, but the Copenhagen Wolves can now push down this mid lane. They've tried a few times. Now they're finally forced Elements back and will be able to pick it up.
Yeah, Copenhagen still looking good. Minus that outplay there, it really has been quite well done from them in the overall fights. However, Elements have so much sustain thanks to Lulu. They have a lot of peel thanks to Leona. It's pretty hard to pick a target like that, even with the damage that they have.
That's going to be the thing again. Copenhagen Wolves are not looking to straight up all in through Lissandra and try and burst down a target. They instead want to disengage at first with the Janna and kite. Again, Soren wants to kite and constantly from max ranges land down all his poke. Graves want to do the same thing, so we might not see the Copenhagen Wolves diving the backline of Elements, knowing there's a Lulu standing with her shield to disengage and peel for whoever YoungBuck decides to ulti. Instead though, wait for Shook to make the plays, or sorry, wait for Elements to make the plays, disengage, poke them down, win the fight, and take these towers. Because when you play a poke and siege comp, it's not even about getting kills, it's about forcing people to recall so you can take an objective.
Yeah, Copenhagen really showing they can play with the big boys of Elements here. Keeping up, not quite enough in gold, but they still are holding their own, and they've got 2-2 in towers now. Elements, though, are moving through this Copenhagen jungle looking for either a pick or just maybe take a little bit more jungle control, putting a lot of wards down at the very least so they know where they all are. YoungBuck, though, he's in a little bit of trouble in a 1v3. Frozen Tomb is going down. The Solar Flare won't connect, but they really don't need it. And YoungBuck just gets caught by the roving gank squad.
And again, Elements completely control the top side of the jungle. Now Froggen,
he's looking for Unlimited, but he could be in a little bit of trouble as well. Blown back into Freeze, and Soren, who picks up that kill. 4 members of the Copenhagen Wolves answer back in kind, and the Dragon is live right now. Soren trying to zone Wickd away, but he's going to be able to 2-step. That tower goes down anyways, but this should be a Copenhagen Dragon.
Yeah, Elements, they have all the deep wards here, so they are the ones who can actually pick off the targets. They don't care about Froggen dying in the bottom lane if you can take mid turret and the top turret for it in exchange here. So the Elements using the deep wards catch out YoungBuck, who actually clawed into them because he had no idea what was going on, and then just get 2 towers for themselves.
Yeah, definitely caught pretty surprisingly there.
And you see again the way Elements play here. They don't want to group up and try and push down a tower when there's so much wave clear for Copenhagen Wolves. So they have Froggen sitting in one lane. They have Rekkles actually as the other wave pusher in the opposite lane. And then Wickd just sitting and wave clearing in the mid lane for himself. And that's how they push down every single wave. And if Copenhagen Wolves send too many guys to kill one person, well, you're going to lose a tower somewhere else. And that's what Elements just managed to do here. Punish the Wolves for sending 4 guys to kill Froggen and get 2 towers.
That's the thing. Towers don't come back. Dragons will after a little while. So Elements perfectly happy to make that trade.
Oh, yeah.
On the board. Just approaching the 20-minute mark here. And Elements clearing out some vision where they can.
And even look at Froggen here. Abyssal Scepter against the double AP. Even the magic damage from Corki. So we're going to see Elements go for Locket. All the magic resist items here to simply avoid Copenhagen Wolves being able to just blow them up.
The Wolves want to push this. Airwaks trying to zone out the rest of Elements. Froggen actually moving up for the flank, but this is coming really, really late. They're not going to see it.
Copenhagen Wolves has so few wards on the flank here, so Froggen is just able to move from the bottom lane through the river here. Now they actually placed 1 ward. If you're playing a siege and poke comp as well, you never want to get flanked. So you need to ward your flanks every time you push up towards the tower. Otherwise, it's too easy for the other team to just run around you and kill your backline before the fight even starts.
They do successfully back away from this one, but this has bought some time for Elements to get their team together, start pushing around, grabbing a little bit more jungle for themselves. And it seems like nobody's jungle has really been safe this game. We've seen quite a lot of steals, buffs, camps, everything. Shook's going to be able to grab that Grump. And Froggen with a wave now pushing down on the bottom side while the rest of Elements keeping Copenhagen Wolves at bay in mid lane.
Talking about Froggen, he doesn't actually have any boots on this Ahri here. He's gone straight for his 2 core items in the DFG and the Scepter here. Yeah, well, he can dash around. And now, because he's just been completely untouched in the bottom lane, pushed up the wave. No response from Copenhagen Wolves, and Elements get a free tower.
Very slow to respond to that one, and now Elements starting to lead the charge. 5 towers to 2 is that score. And you're right, Copenhagen seemed to be settling back into this. They didn't really pick up the speed after Elements changed it.
No, Copenhagen was wanting to group up and again start sieging down a tower, but they didn't have the proper wards to place, so they had to back away here, respecting the engage from Elements, and then just stuck sleeping, honestly, in the mid lane. And Froggen could once again push his bottom lane. It's just been a 1-3-1 from Elements all game long here. Try and spread out the wolves, don't let them sit together as 5, and then take these side lane turrets.
Right there. Rek'Sai moving up to mid just for some juicy farm. While up in the top lane, Soren and Airwaks should be able to grab this tower. They've gotten all the outer ones now, but they've lost quite a few more than that on their side. And here we go, 3 members of Elements moving around once again back into this Copenhagen jungle.
Yeah, true Elements style here. Taking it slowly, and you want to just build them an advantage. You don't have to rush it, you don't have to force any team fights here. You just take towers, you take their buffs, you take their jungle, you slowly grind them out as we see, and then you're looking for these big team fights in the very end when you feel like you're strong enough, when Luckett is completed for Shook, when you have more magic resist again also on the rest of your characters. It's gonna become harder and harder for the Copenhagen Wolves to actually burst down El Shook into the jungle.
Well, speaking of El Shook, he will be eyeballing when this dragon comes up in about 2 minutes. This is about the time they can most definitely contest it, but the problem is they don't want to straight up fight them unless they can get that good angle of engage. So wards are going to be key in this one. Copenhagen don't have too many hanging close to that pit, and Elements do have the one pink in the brush.
And again, Elements walking straight into the Copenhagen Wolves red buff, completely warded up so they can see any kind of rotation from the Copenhagen Wolves between the top and the mid lane. Also making it a bit harder for the Wolves just to walk straight down to Dragon, knowing, okay, what if Elements build up a wave, which they're actually going to do now with Wickd in the top side. Just trying to force the Wolves away from this Dragon here, or at least make them trade a potential inhibitor if they want to pick up a third Dragon, which is spawning in about a minute, so the wave will be built up by Wickd.
Well, there is a bit of time still on that one, so yeah, Wicked's going to be able to do that now. Ooh, right to the Arcane, going to catch a few members of Elements by surprise, but not enough damage to really do much than tickle.
Well, he's just checking if they were actually hiding there, or if maybe they started the Baron for Elements, because there's no wards from the Copenhagen Wolves. Everything is completely dominated by
Froggen. They have to
Elements
know this is a flank, but Airwaks walks nearly into danger. They're going to go for him anyways. Here comes YoungBuck trying to save the fight. Shook actually very low. Rekkles gets jumped on, and the Wild Growth comes out to keep him alive as he burns his flash to disengage. And Elements actually underestimated the Copenhagen Wolves damage on that one.
Yeah, this is good for the Copenhagen Wolves. You avoid the main engage from Elements, and then you just start landing all this poke here onto them. Shook is down to 40% HP. He's recalling to base, and now the Wolves looking towards his mid lane.
Yeah, they have a chance to start pushing this one down. They've got a minion wave at their back.
Froggen has ulti though on the flank.
Very dangerous, you're right. Froggen could go in at any time, but Wickd is gonna get blown up, and now YoungBuck could follow. It looks like Froggen will make it a 1-for-1, but they've got the tower. Now Shook uses the Void Rush to try to get an angle, see if he can find someone with a Praise Seeker. Freeze is low, but a Chilling Smite will keep him at bay for now. And the Copenhagen Wolves will get out, only losing YoungBuck.
Yeah, they just placed the ward here once Froggen actually came into the mid lane. Could have been there before and to spot him. Charm onto YoungBuck, he didn't flash, he didn't ulti it, and actually ends up dying for it. And now Elements looking towards the Dragon. Rekkles is down to 50%, and there's a lot of poke still for the Wolves.
Yeah, this fight's not quite over yet, but dangerous for Copenhagen to stick around. There's a large minion wave building on the top side, and now Wickd is teleporting in. YoungBuck better be in hot pursuit if they want to try to contest this. He's actually just going up to the top to defend the tower, so this should be an Elements Dragon.
Yeah, Airwaks is too low to go in here, so the Copenhagen Wolves have to give it up here. First Dragon for Elements.
Oh, they find Airwaks! He
kill.
Gets killed. Nyph picks that one up, and they spent quite a lot, but very happy, very worth. Elements with their first Dragon on the board also secure those battle stats, and they now look to push down to this inner.
Yeah, but we did see Elements here trying to flank first in the mid lane, and Copenhagen Wolves disengaging, landing the poke. Got a mid turret for it, and now Alliance, well, your wave is gone. Xerath says hello.
So are they.
So are they.
Bailing out from that one, and they clear a camp on their way out. So much damage and wave clear on their own side too, so the sieges are pretty hard to pull off in general, but all the same, Copenhagen not doing too terrible there. They did give up the Dragon, and Airwaks, that was the real issue, is that Airwaks just got caught out for seemingly no reason. Yeah,
it was a bit too low from the fight itself. Again, where Copenhagen was actually pushed up the mid lane and didn't get to see Froggen coming from the side. Also, of course, with YoungBuck dying. to him. So 0-5 for YoungBuck, but still actually looked better than he did in the games we saw last week.
Across the board, actually, Copenhagen's evened out in a couple of their lanes. Well, it's not really lanes anymore, but Freeze, you know, he's caught up quite well to Rekkles, so he's had quite a big impact in this one, 3-0 on this Corki, and he's been incredibly safe. They've kind of ignored him for the most part because there's so many priorities in Soren and in YoungBuck. But more importantly, Freeze hasn't really been giving away any bad positioning in these fights.
I'm a little bit surprised Freeze actually went for the Blade instead of the BT on Corki here, which we normally see in these siege comps, because again, the shield is so important for you, and the lifesteal, when you're taking a bit of poke damage, you can just lifesteal back up and you get obviously more damage on your rockets and your poke through getting that AD from the BT. Instead though, Blade, so we'll have some sustain from it, but it's just simply to try and stay alive in these fights.
Shook, they're gonna jump on him. Airwaks, there we go. Both junglers pretty low in this one, and they take just a breather for a moment, but Airwaks extremely low, and they're gonna be able to take him. Froggen just going on a rampage for the double kill, looking for YoungBuck as well. Can he secure the triple? He's locked up by the frozen tomb, and he's pushed back, but he's still got some blood in his eyes, and they're gonna have to back away from that one, but a quick 2 kills for the mid laner of Elements.
Yeah, finally he got an engage and Froggen on this Ahri. While he died 1-on-1 to Soren, he's made some big plays after that one. 1v2, it doesn't matter. This team fight as well is all about Froggen diving into Copenhagen Wolves and getting the kills.
Just goes to show you that no matter how rough it might look at sometimes, he's always Froggen. And even though he was just a moment ago 2-3, comes up with that positive score now. Really could have gotten more if YoungBuck hadn't gotten the frozen tomb off in time. I mean, that was just such a masterful play by them, and the follow-up from Elements was great.
Yeah, not over-chasing either, actually. As soon as they got the first few kills, don't want to try and run into the stun from a Xerath or again the poke from the Corki. Just backs away, happy with winning the team fight. And actually do see for Froggen, and this is something some mid laners in Europe start to do, they keep their warding totem instead of getting that sweeping lanes. We can talk about it after here. So Engage coming in onto Shook, but the rest of Elements here in a good position just to re-engage onto the Copenhagen Wolves. And look at Froggen here. Ulti was gone from Unlimited, didn't manage to get anything onto Froggen, and as soon as he sees it, jumps in, picks up the double kill.
And the split focus was just so great, you know, he had just enough damage, but now Froggen himself is in a bit of trouble, gonna Spirit Rush out of the Cataclysm, and mid red steel. Shook's like, wait a minute, I still want that.
Behind enemy lines here from Shook. All the Copenhagen Wolves keep chasing down for a few more kills. All 5 together again, as they should be. It's not over yet. Froggen left us some.
See if he can juke this out.
Standing.
This is a little bit dangerous. Now we're going to look down to where Nyph is being focused down. And there we go. Airwaks pretty low, though. However, Froggen is also going to, well, in a moment, maybe if he can juke this one out. Come on. Eliminated. They don't even have the damage. There we go. Soren comes up with it. It's a 2-for-1 as Airwaks went down after killing Nyph. But man, was that a weird 2-step.
Yeah, very messy fight here from Elements being around the red buff of Copenhagen Wolves. I think Shook actually managed to take it while the fight happened here, and the Copenhagen Wolves keep chasing. Well, blue buff as well, so
Elements wants everything.
Elements has done a very good job controlling these buffs pretty much the entire game long.
Uh-oh. YoungBuck. I'm going to realize what happened now. Wickd going to try to dodge out of the Xerath ultimate. He does get away from one. A little bit more damage, though. Freeze is actually right in the front with that Bloody of the Rune King. Not really afraid of anything on this. And Copenhagen turns it around to try and force Elements out of their own jungle. But how long can they stay here?
Dragon is 1 minute and 20, so Copenhagen was want to get a few deep wards. Actually only plays a single one from this play here. We haven't really seen them use their fantastic strong poke and siege to get towers. Instead they've actually been moving down, trying to look a bit for some team fights against Elements. So far, evening kills, but Elements are heading gold due to these towers and of course the farm advantage on the likes of Mamish. Compare Shook to Airwaks here, big difference.
Yeah, but the Copenhagen Wolves have kept up as best as we really could have expected them to in this situation, and their carries are really seeing them through. Fantastic scores, 4-0 on both Soren and Freeze. And even though sometimes their engages have been a little bit questionable, those two have come out quite well. No worse for the wear.
No, it's been hard for Elements to get the flying, and it's what we talked about in Champs, like how it's all about Unlimited on this Janna here. So you don't want to throw everything you have on the Copenhagen Wolves instantly. You want to wait for that Monsoon, and then you go in with the Leona or maybe the Charm, as we saw from Froggen earlier here. Then he can finally jump in. And now just poking down Airwaks a little bit, forcing him back to base. Baron control is in favor of Element.
Oh, they are going to start this one. Airwaks has a difficult decision to make. He's already completed his back. There will be no smite fight for the next few, and Nyph now trying to zone them out. They know that this is being started, but the Baron is taking quite some time, and Elements is going to back away from it.
Yeah, and remember when they're sitting on the Baron, it just opens up for Copenhagen Wolves to land Xerath poke and rockets from the Corki onto multiple members because you're standing in that small Baron pit. So
this is an opening though for the Dragon.
Yeah, it is for Copenhagen Wolves.
Elements had to back after all of that one. The Rek'Sai is going to move up to the mid lane, but this is still going to be a very difficult Dragon steal to try and pull off. Getting in position right now as 3 members of the Copenhagen Wolves. The ward is down, Nyph is spotted. Here comes Shook around the side. Can he secure it with the smite steal? Is he even going to try? He doesn't have the vision on it. No Prey Seeker will be enough.
Yeah.
As Airwaks secures the 3rd Dragon for his team.
And you don't want to try here in the late game, go for such a risky steal, because if you end up dying here, suddenly there's no jungler, and Copenhagen Wolves will just start pushing down one of the lanes and maybe even get a tower from it. So wisely enough him staying back, but the Wolves, from actually having Airwaks go back to base and Element starting a very, very risky and aggressive Baron, they forced them back, took the Dragon forward instead, so 3 Dragons now for the Wolves. And again, Elements, they're staying around this Baron here. They want the Copenhagen Wolves to move into their own jungle and try and fight around here so Elements can get a surprise engage, because you have all the pink wards in the river, so you can't really see where Nyph is coming from or where the charm is coming from Froggen. So that's how they want to try and set up this flank, but the Wolves are not fighting at the moment. Staying back.
Not indeed. Staying pretty safe in this one, and Elements really wants to try to force something around the Baron that they can pick it up. So they make moves into here, right of the Arcane coming out, and actually Shook trying to dodge these out. Actually takes a bit of damage there, and Froggen, we didn't even see it, but again, he picks up YoungBuck.
No, but the pink ward's in the river. At some point, one guy will overextend. Charm from Froggen now. YoungBuck is dead for another 30 seconds, and Elements keep the control around this Baron here.
The death timers start to get a little more serious. Now, there's the Baron starting.
Yeah, no ulti from Soren either, so the Copenhagen Wolves are going to be very weak here if a fight should break out. Froggen still has his ulti. He just charmed and DFG'd onto YoungBuck before.
Yeah, and they're hanging around the backside of the pit, too, in case, well, Rekkles could always dash over. It's a bit dangerous to deal with the Baron, and wait a minute! Froggen with a shutdown while all that's happening. Soren, they're just running interference for the Baron. Unlimited comes in, he gets popped, the Baron goes over to Elements. This is just absolutely wacky what's happening, and Rekkles picks up a kill onto Airwaks as well. Elements take everything.
So after baiting that Baron here for a few minutes from Elements, they finally get it, and also some kills by Copenhagen was trying to come in and steal it in the very end, or maybe stop it. Not really sure why the Copenhagen was decided to move in the end with YoungBuck dead, and obviously no vision at all.
I don't know what you got to call it, but it is a disaster now for Copenhagen Wolves. They're going to lose this inhibitor as Elements take advantage of that, march down the line after the Baron and the kill pickups, and they're going to be able to walk away completely safe.
A really, really nice job by Elements, forcing Copenhagen Wolves away from just sitting and wave clearing day out and day in. Especially because they are night out, you said?
Oh, you got it the first time. Cool. Quite well. They're grabbing even more jungle here. Rekkles now, his burst is just starting to get really, really crazy. A dash over to be able to safely back in the Baron pit. So Elements now just opened up the game massively for them. They've got a huge lead at freeze!
Wow.
You can't even blink and you'll miss it. Froggen coming up with another big kill. He's 8-4, and he was 4-4 when we last checked in on him. This guy's just gone nuts in the last few minutes.
This game has been all about Froggen and him creating the picks. He was the guy killing YoungBuck beforehand. Secured the Baron for Elements, and just another pick onto Freeze. I mean, at that point you think everyone is recalled already, and then this annoying little Ahri is just staying around killing you.
Quite a lot of damage coming out from that one, so this may be the last breath for DFG, but Froggen is making it look good right now. So here we go, able to take even more out of the jungle here in Elements. You know, this is going to be scary for Copenhagen Wolves. The game was so even for a long time. They were playing so well, answering back turret for turret for the most part, but Elements just said, no, you can't do that anymore. And they start charging up. A 10k gold lead. They may be down in Dragons, but they don't need them. The Baron is still on for just a bit more, and they're starting to push down this bottom side.
Yeah, this push is still going to be fairly hard for Copenhagen Wolves, even with the buffed up minions.
Oh, they caught Airwaks on the charm. A lot of damage there, and he makes it out. Oh, no, he doesn't. Rekkles says, I'll take that. What? Thank you very much. One turret. They should be able to get another inhibitor off of that one, and the Wolves are running home with their tails between their legs.
The very, very last ulti from Rekkles, killing Airwaks again, opening up the base. Top lane, should be the next focus, unless they want to try and go for these Nexus turrets. I mean, why not? I mean, it's 4 guys and you have
They've got 2 inhibitors.
Yeah, go for it.
They don't need the wave necessarily.
Well, okay.
And Froggen, how does he keep doing that? YoungBuck, I don't think that's going to keep you alive for very long, buddy. Maybe that will. Limited going to pop his Monsoon. Froggen really wants another pick up. The shields are going to keep him safe, but now the Nexus turrets being fired down. They've got 1. They're looking for 2. Super minions in the base. This is a disaster for the Copenhagen Wolves. However, maybe they can find something. There's the shutdown they were looking for. Froggen is popped, but Airwaks and Freeze also low. Everybody on the Wolves just melting because Rekkles is still able to make the damage. The Nexus is going down 37 minutes in, and Elements pick up win number 2.
Passive early game from Elements, exactly how they love to play the game. And as soon as we get in towards the late game here, they start creating the picks. Nice setup around the Baron, baiting the Copenhagen Wolves to face check them, and of course Froggen on Ahri. I mean, yeah, so he dies one-on-one in the mid lane. Who cares when he then goes on and kills 9 other guys?
Yeah, I think he wanted to make up for that one just a little bit. He didn't even catch all of the kills he was able to pick up. Talk about a highlight reel. We'll have a whole load of LCS big plays for that guy. And what a massive performance from Elements. They turned a switch, they stepped it up, and the Wolves were left in the dust.
Yeah, as soon as the Wolves didn't really manage to get a lead from this mid-game with the Corki, potentially the Xerath push you can do, because again there's so much engaged on the side of Elements here. The Copenhagen Wolves didn't really feel like they could push up and start setting up the siege here. Then it was just all about Elements controlling the map, controlling the Baron, getting the right fights, and obviously not allowing Copenhagen Wolves to just sit and poke.
But credit to the Wolves, they played much better up to the level of Elements. They kept them on the ropes for a little while. They started out very strong, securing those 3
a lot better early game.
Yeah, I really stepped it up compared to their opening week. And you know, there's hope for this team yet. They're only 1-2, not the worst score you could be at. Yes, you want to do better, but they've got some glimmers of brilliance there. Let's see if they can turn that into something.
Yeah, and Copenhagen Wolves as a team, I mean, if you look back at Summer Split last year, Spring Split as well, whenever they face these big teams, like the top teams in Europe, they seem to have some special tactic worked out that actually does cause a bit of trouble here and buys them time in the game here, gives them a chance. I remember them beating Alliance last year as well, with that like the Twitch mid with a red buff and just killing Froggen, but that was a whole different game. And obviously this time around, no tricky picks, just a very long-range siege poke comp that Alliance or Elements managed to break and get the picks they wanted to.
Yeah, they came up quite well that time around, so they've got the 2 wins under their